Awesome. Appreciate it, Yusuf. So for those of you that don't know, Yusuf here is the Spark Dev director. Great guy, amazing guy. Connect with him. He's a great guy to know. And if you haven't joined Spark Dev yet, you should join Spark Dev. It's where I got my experience with what I'm going to teach you guys.
There you go.
So if it wasn't for that motivation of Spark Dev, I wouldn't be able to do this today with you. So join that. Ya tú sabes.
How many people we have? 29. Okay, cool. Oh, nice.
Thank you, Wally, for choosing Intro to Python. The best one out of all the ones that are happening. We have all of them at the same time. I wish I could go to each one.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to also go to May's GitHub workshop, but I decided to lend a hand to my friend here, Daniel. Daniel.
Damn, Daniel, you hitting me with damn Daniel, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Coño, bro.
Daniel, what's that shirt you have on?
What shit? What's shit about what I have on?
Shirt. What shirt do you have on?
Bro, I was about to say, don't disgrace me like that, bro.
Come on, show it to the public. Let's go.
Yeah, no, this year's looks even better.
Yeah, this year's looks lit.
Wait, let me take it off. I'm kidding. So I can just show you guys in like.
For the hackers.
Yes, sir. ShellHacks.
Projects are gonna be.
Sir. Yes, sir. And for anybody, by the way, who's in the chat right now and you're worried, oh my God, I have so much to learn. Oh my God. I'm the same spot as you, bro. I have a lot of crap to learn too. Don't worry about it.
Hey.
This is only my second hackathon, so I feel you. Speaking of second hackathon, I have 15% battery. Let me fix that real quick.
Will this recording be shared with us? I believe so. The thing is that I'm pretty sure that it's going to be after the hackathon. So please keep an eye out on social media for UPE, and also with any follow-up emails after ShellHacks over.
Exactly. We're not going to share it during ShellHacks, but only after. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have all the workshops available. We have to like edit them, cut out parts like this where we're talking, just waiting for people to roll in, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you guys excited to learn? Why? Let's start. While we wait a couple more minutes for more people to join in. Why do you guys want to learn Python?
It's a really important question. What's your motivation for
your motivation of learning Python? Exactly. Come on, write it down in the chat. We want to hear you. All the cool kids use it. Well, that's true. AI stuff. There you go. This guy knows.
This guy knows. That's what we like to hear.
Python is widely used. Right. That's right. I'm
even going to be showing you guys Jupyter Notebooks, which is how you would do data science / ML stuff anyway.
Oh, look, I'm hoping it's easier than my Java class. Well, it depends.
It will be.
It depends on what you like. If you don't like declaring stuff, then it's going to be a whole lot easier. For me, I'm a computer engineering major, so I'm mostly used to C, and I don't like Python at all, because I don't know sometimes what variables are, like what data types are. So yeah, but it's really good. Gets the ladies. Well, it depends on her likes and dislikes, man.
That's true. That's true. Muy importante.
Just to know more language. Cool. Fair enough. I need to understand Python versus C means more. Oh, okay. Hopefully after tonight's workshop, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Let's see. All right, cool. All right, let's give it a couple more minutes. We'll probably start at like 11:05, buddy.
The site you said to go to. Kingsley, I'm not sure what site you're referencing. We're going to be using Google Collaboration or Google Colab, which you can search up.
Oh, no, we're going to be using Jupyter Notebooks, actually.
Jupyter Notebooks, not Google Collaboration?
Not Google Colab. But I will reference Google Colab. Now that you mention it, it's a great point. I will mention it, and I'll even give an example. So, great idea.
Okay.
Oh, I think what Kingsley is asking for is...
Oh, actually, that's a great point. Real quick, I'll answer Kingsley in a second. Everybody, if you're in here, I want you to download a couple things because y'all got to download stuff. All right. Anaconda, Python, obviously. Most recent version of Python. I'll share the link now. Déjame ver, lo tengo por aquí. Okay. I'm going to be asking you guys to download again later for those who joined later in the workshop. But I'm just going to drop some of this stuff now. What was Kingsley's question?
He's asking for like a site drop, but I'm not like the site you mentioned, but I don't remember you saying
please,
to go to a specific
please
site.
specify like what I was talking relative to.
I'm assuming he's referring, or so I'm assuming Kingsley is referring to the Anaconda site.
Anaconda. So I mean, yeah, I just dropped it. So there you go. Drop link.
How long is this workshop going to take? I think, let me take a look.
It's just to 12.
De la noche. Actually, y'all want to laugh? So I sleep at 12, and I'm sleeping at 12 tonight. I'm not a night owl like some of you guys, bro. I gotta sleep early so I can wake up early. My motto.
Someone asked, are we using Visual Studio Code?
So no, but you are allowed to for Python, obviously. And Visual Studio Code is just really great because it's a universal text editor. Well, it's a text editor. It's like, you can do anything in text editor, right? But it's a nice text editor. Thank you for correcting me on that the other day, Zach. I appreciate it. I called it an IDE. That was obviously wrong. Okay. It's a text editor, which makes it very nice and universal. You can code in Python in it. But we're going to be using Jupyter Notebooks today because I wanted to connect this at least a little bit with my Intro to Neural Networks workshop tomorrow, which we will definitely be using Google Colab / Jupyter Notebooks files. So you'll see what Jupyter Notebooks are in a second. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. My desktop doesn't like VS Code. Perfect. You don't even have to use VS Code. You're good. Download Anaconda. So for those of you wondering, Anaconda, well, I'll go in a bit. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, to answer quickly Diego's question. So Diego, when you download Anaconda, the whole distribution already comes with Jupyter Notebooks. So just go ahead and download Anaconda, and it'll download, latest Python version, Jupyter Notebooks, everything you need. Even like some of the packages that you use mostly for data science, like NumPy, Pandas, Seaborn, Scikit-learn, TensorFlow, all of them, like they come already pre-installed with. How big is the file? That's a really good question. Let me Google it up real quick.
Daniel, also, do we need Python and Jupyter Notebook installed right now? Or can we follow along to the workshop, and once it installs, we can kind of pick it up?
So download Anaconda right now. Anaconda is it's like I guess it's a framework, right? Yeah, pretty much. It's just a collection of stuff. Okay, and within that collection of stuff, one of those things is Jupyter Notebooks that will come with it. I believe you have to download it even after you have download Anaconda, but whatever. First step is Anaconda, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, you guys can just for the beginning part. So like everybody should just download. And the beginning stuff, the first couple slides, I'm not doing anything, so we can just give it time to download and whatever. So we want Python to download it, which the link I dropped earlier. We want Python. We want Jupyter Notebooks, which comes through Anaconda, and we want those are really the only two mandatory things. Yeah, that's it. Python and Jupyter Notebooks. Jupyter Notebooks again we'll get through Anaconda, so download Anaconda. I'm sorry if I'm a little hyperactive. I get this way.
Thank you, Hector, for posting it. Also, I just want you guys to know that future workshops, if you go to the Hacker's Guide, it will have all the requirements for that workshop. So if you actually go to the Hacker Guide for this one, it says Anaconda. Now, Anaconda requires Python. So when you install Anaconda, it's going to be like, hey, you don't have Python, or it's going to install it for you, however it goes, right? So like future workshops, prerequisites are going to be listed there. For the other ones, it says like everything, like for like the web development ones, it says like 3 different requirements that you guys need to download. So just like make sure to look at that before you guys go to the workshop. That way you guys can download everything before. Now this is like the first workshop. Everybody's kind of getting acclimated to it. So
that's right. All right. I guess we can get started. you guys want. Yeah. All right, let's do it. So starting now for those editing this right now. Hey guys, my name is Daniel. I am a UPE committee member for UPE Code. I am the AI guy. I lead the AI workshops for Code. My experience is previously in UPE Spark Dev. I am also a research assistant here at FIU. Let's get some stuff done. Let's learn some intro to Python. So yeah, let's get started. I'm gonna start with screen recording. Let's see, there we go. All right, so can everybody see the PowerPoint well enough? Give me some yeses, give me some no's. Zach or Yusuf, please, because I can't really see anything because I'm presenting.
Yes, sir, that's fine.
I was doing thumbs up. Yes,
thumbs
yes,
up.
we can.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So intro to Python emoji, and don't mind the UPE code slides. It's just the layout that I chose for today's presentation. You guys can connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously. Let me drop this in the chat real quick. You can obviously, Yusuf and Zach, if you guys want to drop your LinkedIn's there as well, I obviously recommend it. Pretty active on there. Let's do this. What is Python? So, plainly, Python is, as you can see in the slide, an interpreted, object-oriented, and high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. You don't have to worry about what dynamic semantic means. Python is, in general, a very easy to understand, interpreted, meaning not compiled, right? There's no compiler for this, which is partly what makes it slower. It's interpreted, right? And as a result, it does make it a little bit slower than things that are better compiled like Java and C++. But that is a cost we're willing to make when you can literally write a fraction of the code you need for something equivalent in Java, right? And it'll be much easier for your brain to understand because it's closer to language. So high level itself. So we see what we say. So it's interpreted, object-oriented. For those of you that don't know what object-oriented is, I'm going to go over it really quickly. Object-oriented programming. Plainly, you have it's called OOP for short. You have things like inheritance, polymorphism. You can look that up. Basically, the idea is you have things like classes, and classes are like blueprints for everyday things. So you could have something like, I don't know, you could have a blueprint for a human, right? And then those classes will give objects, can give objects, right? And objects are just instances of those classes. So if you have a class, blueprint, right? Human, you can have an object called, I don't know, my name, Daniel, or Yusuf or Zach, right? So it does support that. You have things like functions, which are methods in other language, right? It's the same thing. Functions and methods mean the same thing. We're going to go over that later. And yeah, it's high level because it's close to human language. Closer than things like C, which if you programmed in C, I mean, it's okay, never mind, that's a bad example. Actually, it's not that bad example. It's much closer to human language than C. So for example, you'll see that things like logical propositions, which we'll talk about later, it's literally just and instead of at symbol or and symbol, like in Java or C, right? And honestly, the fact that it's easier to understand as a programming language is really important for things like machine learning and data science because you're already working with like really complicated stuff. So you don't want to add to the complexity with more like complexity that would exist in a language like Java or C. It just makes your life much harder, right? And even if like let's say you really want to build something in machine learning in Java, it's still a great idea to write it in Python, right? Because it would be much easier to write in Python for your brain to process, right? And then you could translate from Python to Java much easier than just starting in Python, in Java, if that makes any sense. So, yeah. Why is Python, right? So we went over the what, now the why. It's easy to use. It's great for object-oriented programming like Java, like C++. It's great for scripting. If you guys don't know what scripting is, it's basically just executing commands that you can normally do with your computer, but at the click of a button and several things at the same time. So an example of a script would be, for example, let's say you want to, let's say you're a software engineer, right? And you need to open up, I don't know, 2 web pages. You need to open up 2 web pages, your IDE, so VS Code, and your Notes app all at the same time, right? You could just make a script, right, that could execute these commands in Python. Another thing would be like Bash, for example, right? And it would just automatically execute all those things instantly just by pressing, by executing those commands in Python, right? Pretty simple to understand. The overall, and again, the overall best language for AI due to the humongous amounts of open source libraries and resources. Cool. So I'm going to start already. Does anybody have any questions that I could answer? Let's see. Nike bot scripts. Anybody have any questions? Any questions at all so far? No? Think of everything I said is pretty straightforward, right? So, am I talking too fast, by the way? Everybody catching up with me? Talking too fast? Yes. Everybody good? All good. Okay, great. Cool. Just checking. All right, cool, guys. Let's continue. So, who is Python? Too philosophical. Let's download stuff. So, yeah, just download some stuff. I'm going to drop the links again for anybody who might have just joined with us in the last couple of minutes. You said it's better to learn. So you said it's better to learn this before Java. I did not say that, but that is still true. I would probably recommend learning this before Java. Then again, how do I put this? So I kind of appreciate, so here's my weird philosophy. I kind of appreciate learning something harder like Java first, because it really, learning something harder like that, like made me appreciate everything that's easy in Python. Does that make sense? So like, because I learned Java, I'm not necessarily afraid of learning something like as quote unquote hard with like pointers and stuff at C or C++, right? Because I already learned Java. I already learned something quote unquote hard compared to Python, right? So I feel like if you start in Python, you actually might like be afraid to go to something higher because you're like, oh, that's so much harder. Like, it's not that much harder, right? It's just when you have a huge project, it can get pretty complex, right? I am in Miami. Yes, sir. So thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. Do I need to create an account in the Icon Navigator? I don't believe you do. Yeah, no. So I don't know if, yeah, you guys can't see on my screen, but I just opened Icon Navigator and I've never created an account for it. So don't worry about that. I mean, maybe you do for other stuff. I don't really know, but for opening Jupyter notebooks, you'll be fine. Cool. All right, let's keep going. So, hopefully everybody's started downloading stuff. Okay.
One quick thing. Jay Cuevas is asking, I think you can answer this real quick. So you prefer OOP over something like functional or procedural programming?
No, I prefer functional programming. That's just me. It's not necessarily like, it's okay. There's obviously drawbacks to either approach, but the thing is when you're doing stuff, I mean, look, honestly, in the data science stuff that I've encountered, right, in the data science and machine learning, the AI, I haven't had the need to employ OOP yet, just because it's much more straightforward, right? In that sense. But there's like, each has its own drawbacks, like its own purpose and its own drawback, though. I don't really necessarily prefer one over the other, but so I hope that answers your question. So yeah, it makes sense that Python is easier, but my major problem that won't teach me more than that. So yeah, pretty much. So let's get started. Okay, so this part is for those of you that don't necessarily understand the importance of documentation. This is kind of a side thing I decided to do. Look, documentation is so damn important, and it's not mentioned enough in classes and in workshops and like everything, right? Like documentation. So when you're working on, so if you're using a programming language, and this, what I'm about to explain to you guys, goes for literally like any library. It goes for any language. It goes for so many software dev things. Okay, look. If you don't, it's perfectly okay to consult documentation whenever you need to at any point in time, right? No company is going to expect you at any point to memorize every single function that you can use in Python, for example. They'll expect you to know a couple, but they'll never expect you to remember everything, right? So like I've had interviews where it's been okay that I accessed the Python documentation because I forgot the exact syntax to something. That's okay, right? Same thing with having like hacker ranks and stuff. Like they'll allow you to look up stuff on the Python documentation or the Java documentation, whatever. Okay. So let's look, for example, on dictionaries, which is something that we're going to do today, right? Here is the Python documentation. I'm going to send you guys a link in a second. Let's look up something like dictionaries, right? Dictionaries, right? Boom, data structures, right? So it goes over lists, it goes over stuff. But if we just look on the page using command, in my case, Command F, in your case might be Control F because you're on Windows. Dictionary, boom. Let's see, there you go. Section 5.5, a useful data type, dictionary, it's blah, 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 showing you explanations. Dictionaries are freaking awesome, okay? Documentation is freaking awesome because you're not supposed to memorize all this crap. And it's important to, like, if you're using any new API, for example, or any new library that you have no understanding of whatsoever, sure, the first thing you might do is access a YouTube video. But at the end of the day, you're not going to truly understand the fine details of what you're using unless you consult that documentation. The documentation tells you the data type that you're employing. It shows you very specific examples of what you can and can't do. Good documentation is extremely important. So for example, if you are creating your own programming language, it better have good documentation. If you're creating an open source API that people can just use or whatever, you better have good documentation because a lot of anything open source should have extremely good documentation, period. Because a lot of people are going to be accessing it and they might not know how the hell to use it. Your documentation is how you explain to people how to use it, right? And Python's documentation is awesome. So, all right, I'm going to drop this link real quick. Anybody have any questions? Me not reading the doc, that would save me hours. Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. So it's like the Python Bible. That's correct. Documentation is the Bible of, well, its own thing, right? So the Java document, I mean, I've never read the Java documentation myself, but I'm sure I would have saved a lot of time if I did. This is Zach and Yusuf are like nodding at me like, how could you not? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. So, but I do read the Python documentation, so I think I made up for it enough. Right. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's do some printing. All right. So first, before we even get into that, I'm going to open up. So I'm going to show my entire screen real quick and go with you guys step by step so nobody is confused on this part. All right, let me see. All right. So look, I have Anycon installed, right? Okay. I simply open it up. Okay. And here are some of the options that pop up. I'm explaining some of these real quick. You have Datalore, which is just a data analysis tool powered by JetBrains, blah, blah, blah. Here's Jupyter Notebook, right? This is what we're going to be using. So you want to launch or if it says install it, and you want to launch it, right? PyCharm is an IDE for like actual development. So like if you wanted to create like if you wanted to do more object-oriented programming stuff, you would want to do it in PyCharm. Okay. I would not recommend you can't really, the truth is you just kind of can't do as far as I know, you can't really do object-oriented programming in Jupyter Notebook, right? PyCharm is for that. Cool. You obviously have VS Code, right? You make sure you get PyCharm Community. If you do get PyCharm Professional, you actually have to pay for it. PyCharm Community is free and open source. RStudio is another. It's like it's mainly used for statistics. It's mainly used for statistics. But screw that. We're using Python. Python all the way. I hate R. I've used R. I hate R. All my homies hate R. So let me see. Cool. So let me see documentation from so fast. If you before you start learning, you will never get to learn any stuff. Exactly. So I completely agree. I completely agree with what Yusuf just said. Documentation, it's gonna be intimidating if you start with documentation. I completely agree. You should start with like maybe a course or an introductory video or whatever. And then once you realize, hey, like I can use functions, what other functions exist? So what other methods exist that I can use in this language or in this library, whatever. That's when you would consult documentation. If you're using a function and it's not working, because whatever, consulting the documentation is a great way to figure out maybe why it's not working. Am I using the wrong data type? Am I feeding it the wrong information? Whatever. Right? Is it expecting something else? But yeah. So let's see. Cool. So once you've opened up Jupyter Notebooks, just launch it. Right? As you guys see here. Okay. So now we're here. All right. So I'm going to give everybody a second. Just launch Jupyter Notebook. All right. So now that we're here, this is just your directories, right? So here is like the home directory, right? These are going to be just files on your machine, whatever. So in our case, because we're just starting, you guys are going to want to probably go to desktop, right? Somewhere where you'll remember where your file is, your folder is. Okay. And so we're going to go, let's say, to desktop. Okay. You're going to click new folder. Right, because or you can just create the folder on desktop. It doesn't really matter. It'll show up here. Okay. And you want to enter that folder. All right. Once you are inside that folder, you're going to create a new Python 3 file. Okay. So when you make files, which I just made, right? When you make files in Jupyter Notebook, they are not going to be the standard Python type of file. They are going to be IPYNB files. Okay. It's still Python. It's just another file format for Python. Okay. Converting between the two is not difficult. It's just the idea with IPYNB files is that they're like more specifically for running blocks of code, which I will also explain in a second. Okay. So yeah, just make a folder. Inside that folder, you're gonna create a new Python free IPYNB file, and we're gonna start writing in there. Okay. So yeah, let me see, make sure everybody's caught up. I don't think I've done anything crazy. It's IPYNB, yeah. Got it? Cool. Can you do what again, Patricia? Anything you need me to repeat again? How did you create the folder? You can just create it. So like however you normally create a folder on your machine. So like on your desktop, you can just create a folder that way. Or you could just go to, so here. No, not here. Here. So I'm on desktop, right? Just new. And it's the same, it's in the same area. So new, here's Python 3, and here's other. Under other, it's gonna be folder. Right there. Click that, and boom, you have a new folder. In this case, it's the untitled folder that I have here. All right. Interactive Python notebook. Exactly. Muy bien, Yusuf. Yusuf's taking a machine learning course right now, so he's learning all this stuff, and he's feeling really proud of his knowledge. I know he is, and he deserves to be. It's awesome. Cool. All right. Galaxy Brain, Megamind. I agree. All right. So let's start coding some stuff. I already made a template. I did not complete it at the end because I want to make it a little interactive. Gonna clear all this stuff. Can I clear all this stuff? Let me see. Current output's clear. Why aren't you working? Oh, all output clear. There we go. Cool. All right. So as we see here, we're going to start with printing. So very simple. We're going to start with strings and printing. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. By the way, can everybody see the letters and stuff fine? Because I was told that it might look a little like laggy and glitchy because it's not really that enlarged. So if it looks like that way for you guys, please let me know. You guys can make it whatever name. So for what Kingsley said, you can just make it whatever name. It's fine. Gigabrain.helloworld.ipynb. Perfect. Good. Looks good. Perfect. Okay, great. Cool. So here we have, obviously, very simple, right? So you just choose a variable, right? So A is a variable. You're going to assign it, right? This is the assignment. This is assignment, which means this variable is going to contain this value of the string hello. Okay. Very simple. B is going to be equal to world. Okay. Python makes this extremely easy, right? If this was Java or C++, it is not this easy. You would have to define the data type. You'd have to, just for a simple example, you'd have to define like the data type like str, A is equal to hello, right? Bunch of other stuff, right? Printing is also not this easy in Python. In Java, it would have to be system.out.print, and then a bunch of other stuff. So like you would actually have to like, yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Cool. Here, it's as simple as print your stuff, and that's it, right? So if we click on this cell, okay, so just copy this down, and if you click on the cell and you hit run, it will only run the block of code you have selected. Okay? Cool. Wow, no semicolon. I know, right? That's literally the best part. No system.out.print, none of that stuff. No system.out.print F, right? No printf, none of that. Just print. That's it. You're done. Right? So you can easily see how this is way less characters and way less, well, work, period, right? Let me just be politically correct here real quick. There we go. All right. Cool. So real quick, so here is what you're seeing right now. The fact that I only did that specific block of code, those first 4 lines of code, this is really one of the big magics of IPYNB and Jupyter Notebooks files, right? You can just run blocks of code. You don't have to run the entire file. It's super easy, right? You just click the cell you want to run, and you just run. If you want to run all the cells in sequence, you can do that too. Data and variables are saved. So this definition that I write here, I am calling it here, and I'll explain that in a second, right? You can just run this, right? And then run this in sequence, and boom, you just call the function. And I'll explain functions later. Kind of giving you guys a little sneak peek, right? So yeah. Hello, and so if you want to say hello for the string Tim, so this is just us calling the function, right? Here we define it, def, say hello, the parameter recipient, return f hello recipient, right? So this f is it was introduced in, I believe, Python 3.6. So I hope you guys have Python 3.6 for this specific example. And it's make formatting really easy, right? So all you got to do is type whatever you want to print or return or whatever, right, in the string. Then you write brackets for any variables that you want to inject into a string. So in this case, hello, then the parameter / variable recipient, exclamation mark, right? The variable we injected here the argument, right, that we sent to this parameter's recipient is Tim. That's why it goes hello, argument sent, Tim. Cool. I feel like I probably went a little bit too fast for people that don't actually know any programming, but let's see. Python is greater, I believe. I agree. S out tab, I agree. Is there auto completion? I believe there's stuff you can install for auto completion, but in this case, I'm not using auto completion. If you're using PyCharm, I believe there is. F stands for formatted. So F makes your So if you include F, so specifically where I added it, right, was right before the first colon specifying that this is a string, right? So it's parentheses F and then the string, right? It's for formatting, so it just makes your life easier. That's it. For injecting variables and stuff. It does a bunch of other stuff. In fact, if you want to learn more about print and then the F, right? I would recommend you do what I do, right? Search this in the Python 3 documentation, right? So, right, just print F. Let's see. So actually, let me see. Formatting itself. 3.6, right? Let me see. Oh, there you are. Some string formatting. There you are. This is pretty much it. Cool. Yeah. So that's how you do it. Cool. You just look stuff up on the documentation and you get exactly what you want. For more info. So let's see. Let's go to the next example. Okay. So I don't know if you guys know Java or C++, as I mentioned earlier, but if you want to make stuff upper and 2 lower, it's this simple. You just got to have the variable. So in this case, this is a string, right? A is this hello string that we defined earlier. Dot lower. And I think you guys can imagine what it does, right? B dot upper. See what happens. Everything is, let me see. Oh, it is not lowercase because I made a very stupid mistake. Oh, I'm making very dumb mistakes. Give me 1 second. Let me check the Python documentation, right? Sure. So let's try lowercase as it recommends here. Pretty sure it was dot lower though. Yeah, it's dot lower. Let's see. By the way, for those of you wondering, wow, this guy is like using like the wrong function in his own workshop. Hello. I saw a Google engineer once trying to show us React, and he did not know how to do something in React, so he literally looked it up the same exact way that I'm doing right now, which is perfectly normal. It is dot lower. Interesting. I wonder why it's not working. Oh, I know why. My mistake. Lowered. There we go. There we go. I forgot I had to assign it to another variable. Simple stuff though. It gets you. But very simple solution. Cool? Anybody have any questions so far? I really like this more than Java, and it's only been 30 minutes. I know, right? You can search for the documentation. Exactly. There you go. There you go. Google, it should be first link. That's right. That's right. This is a lot easier than C++. Yeah, it is. W3 Schools is so good. I agree. Programming is not remembering all the built-in APIs. Facts. I completely agree. Let's keep going then if nobody has any questions. So let's do some numbers and variables. Fun stuff. All right. Let me see. Cool. So we have num1 equal to 56. Oh my God, you didn't have to define the fact that it was an int? That's right. You don't have to define anything. You just iterate it. You just make it, right? Yeah, that's it. Num1 equals 56, num2 equals 70. So I'm assuming you guys know what this does. Can anybody tell me what a single star does in programming? What does that do? Good. Okay, great. What does double star do? Raise to power. Fantastic. Good job, guys. That's exactly right. So if we print num1, we're going to get, obviously, 56. We print num2, we're going to get 70. If you can calculate, the first person who can calculate num4 in the next 10 seconds gets, you get recognition by Google Software Engineer. I can make it happen in the next 5 seconds. Go. Sorry, guys. No Google Engineer recognition. Let's see what we get. This is what you get. Cool. So num1 equals obviously that. Num2, num3, num4. You guys got it all accurately. So num4 is obviously 56 to the power of 56, which is obviously a humongous number. Ludicrously large, right? Boom. So if you guys want to hear a fun fact, by the way, did you guys know that the number of possible chess moves is larger? The total number of possible chess moves is larger than the amount of atoms in the universe. That's exponential. That's just the power of exponents, bro. It's ridiculous. So let's see. Let's go into typecasting real quick. Typecasting is extremely easy in Java, or sorry, not in Java. I wish it was easy in Java. In Python. Cool. So here, so I should probably mention this. This is a comment. This is how you do a comment, right? So in Java, it would be // not here. Here, plain and simple hashtag, right? We're just gonna print num1, but we're specifically gonna print the type of num1. So as you guys know, num1 is of the type int, right? If it was like this, it would be of the type float. Okay. Now we're just doing int. strnum is going to be assigned the typecasted num1. So I'm gonna explain typecasting real quick. Typecasting is plainly when you have something of a certain data type, so integer, int, right? Like 3. And you want to change it to another data type. So in this case, we're changing it to a string, or well, really it'll be a character because it's only one, but whatever. Let's say string, right? Yeah. And after strnum is equal to the typecasted num1, we're going to see what type it returns when we ask for the type. Boom. Right? The type of num1 is obviously integer, and the type of str_num is string. So if you wanted to use it as a string, you could, because it is one. Typecasting is literally this simple. You just write str, right? So in this case, I could have written, for example, int instead, right? I mean, redundant because it's already a type int. So I don't know. Let's do something like, I don't know. Let's see if this works. I wonder if this will work. Will it just return hexadecimal? Yeah, it won't even work. Never mind. But yeah, you could do some. Okay, so an example would be 3.7, right? Let's see if that works. Boom. Cool. It'll actually return type int, even though it's a float. Cool. Super cool. In Java and other languages, this would not be this simple, right? You would have to go through a lot of more arduous processes. The universe is mostly empty space, to be fair. Very fair point. Let's see. I mean, even the space between atoms is like ridiculous compared to the actual atom sizes themselves, right? So real quick, we're going to go over, I already forgot what this is called. But basically, this, if you do 6, help me out, Yusuf, because I totally forgot, like 6 divided by 3 versus like actually returning the whole number instead of like also the integer. Whatever that's called. Division and integer division. Sure, exactly. So yeah, if we run this, what do we get? Cool, right? So if you divide 6 by 3.5, you obviously decimal. But if you do double division, or in this case, double, right, or / you get 3.5. Cool. You get 1, sorry, because it will only return for you the whole number part of whatever you're working on. So what if I did this, right? Is it not letting me type no? Okay, there was about to say. Y'all see the difference? Cool. I actually turned it into an int. Literally that simple. The typecast, it's literally that simple. And in Python, you can typecast if the data type you're working on is a predefined data type, so in other words, a string, an int, a float, a Boolean, blah 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 blah, you can most likely typecast it pretty easily. Okay, if it's a custom one, if you're making a custom data type, you can also customly define how to typecast it, but that's more advanced stuff. Okay. Sir, can you share your Jupyter notebook here? Yes, I shall. At the end of the workshop, because I want you guys to actually code along with me. I will definitely get this. I will definitely send it to you guys towards the end, because I want you guys to pay attention to what I'm actually working on now. Cool. And try writing it on your own and such. So, I guess I'll add one more thing here real quick. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to show you guys remainder division real quick. So, let's say, okay. Somebody give me a number, somebody give me a number, and then somebody give me the remainder of that number that we want. So like the remainder if divided by 3 or 4, right? So somebody give me a number and what we're dividing it by. So I don't know, give me like 69 divided by 420, I don't know, whatever. Oh, now we actually want to do 69. All right, fine. 421, sure. 69 and 421. Ooh, I like that one. Actually, let's do that one. 1337 and 420. Sure. Ooh, wait, what was that? 1080, 360? I like that one the most. Let's do that. 1080 and 360. Cool. Cool beans. No remainder, right? But if we change it to 355, for example, you'll have a remainder of 15. Okay. If you change it to 12, 312, whatever, you'll have the whole number remainder, right? 311, right? Again, whole number remainder. Cool. Well, I mean, whole numbers, it can only be a whole number remainder, right? It's not actually a fraction. It doesn't go into decimals, right? Cool. I am victorious. You did choose nice numbers. So okay, if you're doing double, it doesn't. If you're doing the double slash, no matter what, it will return the whole number, the base whole number of whatever the normal division would return. So for example, 6 divided by 3.5. If you did it normally on a calculator, this is what it would return to you, right? If you do double slash, it will return to you just the whole number. Instead of the entire integer, right? Whatever division that might be, right? So it'll return to you the discrete value. Cool. Let's see. Right. Yeah, cool. That's the one terminology. Cool. That's exactly right. All right. So next we got conditions, logical operations, conditions, and functions. Fun stuff. All right. So hopefully everybody caught up with all this stuff. Actually, let me see what this does real quick. Does this do anything? Just out of curiosity. I forget. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, that's what I thought. Cool. So let's go over here. So Boolean logic, right? A is equal to true, B is equal to false. This is for those of you that don't know that much programming, this is a very important concept. Okay. Boolean logic is used pretty much for determining if something should or should not happen based on your if statements, loops, especially while loops, right? Stuff like that. Okay, we'll go into it in a bit. So if you guys know anything, if you guys know any propositional logic, the math, you don't have to obviously, you'll know what and or mean, right? And so, for example, real quick, for those of you that have done Java, this would normally be where are you? This would normally be and, right? If this is Java, this would normally be
Daniel.
This what?
Really quick, just to let you know, we have about 10 minutes.
Oh wow, I'm gonna speed through this. My bad, I did not realize how much time was taking. It's fine. I'll speed through it. I really appreciate it though.
Yeah,
cool.
No problem.
Okay, we're gonna speed through this a little bit more. So if statements, very simple. If A and B, right? So this means if A and B are both true, this will get printed. Okay, real quick. If you're using Python, you see I'm using this colon. Okay, muy importante. Okay, so if you're using a colon, it means that whatever you're gonna write after this, it better be indented. Indentation is very important in Python. No brackets. We don't use brackets here. Away with that crap, right? We use indentation, which is fantastic because this is one of the best reasons for using Python. It's easily readable, super easily readable, right? Anybody that knows probably, like I would say, like if you know any language out of the many languages, Python is easily readable because of the fact that it's indented, right? If you read books, for example, like clean, I believe it's called, a very famous book is called Clean Code. It's just standard practices for developers, for coders, for software engineers, etc., on how to program. Indentation is very important for readability, and in Python, it's mandatory. In a language like Java, you have brackets. Here, it's mandatory, which is great, right? But yeah, you have print Yaga and okay. So elif, for those of you coming from Java, this is else if. Same thing, right? It just means if whatever you tried doing here didn't work out, instead do this. Okay? Okay. So, guys, which one's going to happen? Based on these true and falses, right? So, just so we're clear, and is constrictive. In other words, both A and B have to be true for this to execute. Or is more, it's more inclusive, right? And is exclusive or is inclusive, right? So, A or B. So, A could be true or B could be true for this to happen, right? Only one has to be true, not both. Based on that logic, which one gets printed, guys? Yaga or Yeet? Tell me in the chat real quick. Then I'll move on. That's right. I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm seeing. That's right. That's right. We're learning. We're learning. I like to see it. You like to see it. Yes, sir. Good job, guys. Pretty easy, right? Not crazy. Fantastic. Awesome job. Awesome job. Next, we got functions. Now we're actually talking about this stuff, okay? So a function is the same thing as, it's essentially the same thing as a method in another language like Java. You use functions when you need to repeat, like if you want to include reusability, right? Some reusability to whatever you're doing, right? So if you need, so let's say you have a restaurant. Let's say you're running a restaurant website, right? Whatever. And you have customers that want salsa, right? Obviously, the best salsa on the planet is Chick-fil-A salsa or sauce. Sorry, did I say salsa? I meant sauce. Whatever, y'all can ignore that. Chick-fil-A sauce is obviously the best on the planet, right? So if you have that restaurant, okay, you're gonna have a lot of customers constantly asking for sauces. So here you could have, I don't know, a bunch of sauces listed, and you would use logic to constantly repeat use of sauces, right? It's so you want to have functions for anything that you want to, any stuff you want to reuse. An example could be, let's say you want to make a calculator, right? You want to reuse the a multiplication function, right? You would make a method for multiplication. You would make a method for addition, for subtraction, etc. Right? So in this case, if not, all right, real quick. These are parameters, right? You don't have to define the type of the parameter, right? And here's the cool thing about Python, right? You can just automatically define default values to parameters, okay? So let's say I call this function, right? If you guys notice, in give me salsa, I do not have the second argument, which should be a num value like 4, right? 5. I don't have it there because I don't need it. Why don't I need it? Because if you have a predefined value, you do not need to include it in your arguments, because the default value will just be used. So if I don't give it a value, guys, which one gets printed? This one, or this one? So will it print for me just this sentence or the else sentence? If or else, which one gets printed? If or else? If. That's right, guys. if gets printed, right? Because num is automatically assigned 1. Okay, so let's say well, let's run it, right? Okay, and then we run the second one. Boom, you get this one. You've been given this sauce, Chick-fil-A sauce. Cool. But if I changed it, if I included 4, so I'm giving it a value that's not 1, then it goes to the second print statement. Cool beans? Can I get a cool beans in the chat, guys? Can I get a, actually, can I get a cool beans in the chat? Cool beans in the chat. Cool beans, cool beans, cool beans. All right, that's what I like to hear. I got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to speed through the other ones a little bit. So real quick, loops, not much to say here. For x in range 100. So this is one way of doing it. So for x in range 100, what does this mean? You're saying for every, this is, so actually I could actually say I as well. It wouldn't be much of a difference, right? You are saying, if you are using the range function, you are saying from 0 up to the number just before what you're stating. Okay, so from 0 to the number just before what you're stating. So if this was, so let's say I just did, instead of x times x, right? Let's say I just did print x. What range will this return for me, guys? From 0 to what number? 99. Exactly, that's right. So let's run this real quick. Boom. Boom. Cool? Up to 99. And you guys see how I keep running these blocks of code, and it's very easy to just keep doing each thing like piece by piece. Essential for ML, essential for AI. Just doing things piece by piece. Very important, right? See how your data, so for example, seeing how your data is transforming, seeing how everything's going, stuff like that, right? Visualizing your data, etc. So much. That's very interesting. I need to step out. No problem, Juan. I'm going to finish up real quick some of the other stuff. So yeah, this is pretty cool for just defining a specific amount of times that you want to repeat something and do stuff, right? So x times x, obviously, this is going to print that stuff. I will send the thing in the chat real quick. I will also, for those of you leaving, I will be putting this as well up in the I will be putting this Jupyter Notebook file in one of the Discord channels, so look out for that. I believe it's like a workshop channel or something, so I'll be doing that. So next, same idea, but instead we're using enumerate, okay? This enumerate function specifically works when whatever you're inputting here, so in this case, A is like, you can think of it as an array, right? Just a collection of a bunch of stuff, right? So you have the A character, you have the B character all together, right? If it is something that can be enumerated, in other words, you can, there's like an index that can be followed, or it's divisible, like kind of in other words, right? Into pieces, then alpha will just represent each iteration of the loop, right? So you have the first iteration will be, it will print alpha, which is A, and then B, and then blah, 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 right? But specifically, first, it'll tell you the index location, and then the actual value of what's at that index location as tuples. I believe these are tuples. Okay. Yeah, pretty cool stuff, right? So because it's tuples, right? This is a list. So this is, I'm pretty much also getting into lists as well, guys, right? So alpha right now is if alpha is a tuple, right? You can further reach just one of these by using one bracket for just the first thing, right? So if I did 0, what will get printed? This 0. Okay, let's run that real quick. Boom, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You're printing just the first row of stuff, right? Let's say I did 1, right? Boom, then you get the second row of stuff. All right, if you do neither, you're printing everything, you get A and B. Boom. For Python, can a list be composed of different types? Yes, absolutely. The main advantage of a list is that it can have multiple types. That's what really sets it apart from being like an array in another language, right? So yeah, great question. Yeah, here's an example of while. And here's a very basic example of a dictionary. So because we're wrapping up, unfortunately, I want to do a little bit more here. Sorry, guys, my fault. I went a little bit over to the other stuff. We have, so very simple, to define an empty dictionary, you just use brackets. So empty dict equals brackets. You can also use dot dict. You can look that up in the documentation. Okay. So dictionaries are basically hash maps, hash lists. Okay. Or sorry, hash tables or hash maps. Okay. You have your key value pairs as they're called. Okay. First is the key and then the value. So if I want to access one of these, right, I would just do grades, brackets, and I would look up the key to the value that I wanted, right? So let's say I wanted this, let's say this is a number instead, right? Let's say this is somebody's email address, right? Or I don't know, a password, hello mother123, right? Let's say you wanted that, right? All you have to put in is the name of the person. So in this case, which is the key, right? Betty. So let's print this, right? Boom and boom. And there you go. Oops. Let me see.
Oh, you need to enclose the hello mother 123 in quotations. This is a string, right?
Fair enough. Let's see. Oh, that's obviously a string. Yeah, my bad. Exactly. If we define that as well, yeah, exactly. It's a string, so fair enough. Boom. Boom chakalaka. Okay, very simple. That's how you access values within key value pairs using dictionaries. And yeah, that's it, guys. Workshop's over. I will share this this Jupyter notebook with you guys so you guys can practice and play with it and learn some other stuff. Real quick, before you guys go, here's a really important quote that I love. Okay, that is especially important for learning anything new. I want you guys to carry this quote for you throughout the entire hackathon. Super important. If you are not willing to be a fool, you can't become a master. You will always be a fool before you become a master. That's just life, and that's especially true when you're learning so much stuff like you're on a hackathon. Good luck, everybody. You guys got this. I believe in you. I'm gonna send the Jupyter notebook now. Let me find the file real quick. Let me save this. I'm gonna do this as quickly as I can for you guys. Where did I store it? I believe I stored it here in let me see. Did I do it here? I believe I did. Workshop. There you are. All right. Let me copy and paste. Actually, how could I do this? How could I do this, Yusuf? How could I send this over real quick?
If you want, send it to me on Discord, and I'll post it in the because I have mod access. I don't know if you do. You probably do because you don't.
No.
Okay, well, send it to me, and I'll pin it to the AI machine learning channel.
Okay, perfect. You heard it here, guys. So he's gonna get it in the. He's gonna put it in the AI machine learning channel in the Discord. All right, guys. There you are. You guys see it there very shortly. No problem, guys. No problem. No problem. No problem. My pleasure, guys. My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Wish it was longer. Sorry, guys. It things so easy to learn. No problem, guys. No problem. No problem. No problem. No problem. No problem. No problem. He asks a question: is a fool for 5 minutes? He who isn't is a fool forever. Thank you. Great point, Luis Rodriguez. Yeah.
Renee asked a question for you.
Yeah. What's up, Renee? I know there's a lot of material on Python out there where I can learn more about Python, how to use proper syntax. Very good point. So what's a resource for learning Python and how to use proper syntax? I'm going to post a link to a Udemy course that actually, the Udemy course that got me started in Python, literally around when I started SparkDev, like a little bit before when I started SparkDev, really. Here, I'll send that to you guys right now. It's a really useful link for learning that. So let me do that real quick. Let me just look up Udemy real quick. And it's also good for those of you that don't know any programming. This Udemy course I'm about to send you guys, it's only $15 if it's your first Udemy course. Highly recommend it. I can actually just look it up, whatever. Python. So give me 1 second. It was one second. Intro to Python. Let me see. Intro. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. Let me find it for you here real quick. Anybody else asking any questions, Yusuf, or the like pretty much the only one right now? I believe it was this one.
Let me check. Python for everybody soon, Noah, soon. Thank you very much. Is there a Python library that you would recommend for continuously storing user input in the background?
For doing what in the background?
Storing user input in the background.
Restoring user input.
No. Storing, like storing inside. Storing user input in the background. Can you explain a little bit, Max? What is it that you're trying to do?
I guess if you're thinking like web development, then the framework for that would be Flask.
Oh, okay.
If I'm assuming web dev stuff, then Flask, which is probably what you're trying to get at. Okay, here's the course, guys. Boom.
Yeah. If by background you mean backend, then yes, Flask is the way to go if you're planning to implement your backend using Python instead of like Node, for example.
Go straight here. Whatever.
I hope that answered your question.
There we go. All right. I'm gonna drop this in the chat, and then you guys can be on your merry way learning more Python and stuff. There's obviously Free Code Camp is obviously fantastic as well. Honestly, Free Code Camp is really good at teaching this as well. For if you want a completely free option, I think the great thing about using something like Udemy is you can get like really good deals. So you can get a really good course for only $15. And believe it or not, I think it's actually a good thing if you pay for something like Udemy course, because it really like the fact that you're even though you are paying, the fact that you're paying creates a personal investment into like into learning it, right? You're saying, okay, I dropped this money, therefore I should really learn it, right? So I that's like to me a side bonus of paying for a cheap but really good course like this one. Cool.
So to answer Max's question, for example, if I wanted to continuously see what someone was typing and then compare it to see similarities between the last 20 actions, if that makes sense. So you can use different data structures for that. If, for example, you can take the input of you can take the input from the user and then store it, for example, in a dictionary, which is to retrieve it back. It's more efficient than, for example, storing it inside a list. And then whenever the user inputs something else, then compare it to all the values inside. Well, it's kind of like the same thing. So but that's what I think, like on a really low level implementation. But if it's something that you're trying to query from a database, or to get information of what the user is doing, for example, inside a web app, then definitely that's a more involved process, and I would definitely recommend Flask for that, because I'm assuming that you would want to implement the logic of your program. Yeah, so Google Python Flask, and so Flask, what will help you achieve is implement the backend of your web app using Python instead of another language, like for example Node.js, right? So definitely take a look at Flask. Let me just write it down.
Okay, guys, screw it. I just made a Google Drive link. let's just make this really.
Send it to me.
Yeah, you got it, boss. Let's just make this really simple.
You sent it?
Boom.
Oh,
so if you manage to stay around this long, well, there you go. I'll send it to you right now, Yusuf.
No. I already copied it. Don't worry. Got it. Yeah, I'll paste it in the AIML channel.
Perfect. By the way, real quick, what you guys are going to be seeing is Google Colab opening it up. So when you open it up, it's going to be Google Colab. Google Colab is this fantastic free, I guess, software from Google. Okay. Basically, you can run. Because machine learning sometimes takes a lot of RAM, a lot of processing power, a lot of GPU power, right? So if you want to run that stuff, but maybe you're using a laptop, you can just actually get Google to run that stuff for you on their cloud. I believe it's their cloud, right? And they can just run it for you. There's a limit if you have free, but if you pay more, you can use more. Honestly, the free amount is very good. You have a 3070, bro. I have a 2070, so I feel you. Don't worry. Hope yours isn't catching fire like a lot of them that I'm seeing catching fire. 2070 gang. Exactly. I played Cyberpunk on that thing. I loved it. Yeah, so you can have 2070 level processing GPU, whatever, using Google's own stuff. And yeah, if you try opening an IPYNB, it will automatically open Google Colabs for you, so you can find out more stuff there. And yeah, guys, thank you guys for joining me. Really appreciate it. Yeah, cool. Google Colab. So here, Google. I'll type it in Google Colab. There you go. Yep, you got it. No problem, guys. If anybody has any critique for me, please let me know. I always try to improve my workshops as much as I can. So if you guys want to mention anything that was too fast on, I guess one thing obvious thing is I was a little bit too slow because I didn't end up reaching lists and dictionaries very well. But if you guys have any critiques, then yeah, let me know. If you guys have any more questions, I'll be here for like 5 more minutes. Yeah, this was recorded. Yes, I believe so. Yeah, it's even currently being recorded, but this part is probably not going to show up later. Thanks, Noah. I really appreciate it. I'll drop the link again. Let me see. Where can we view what's... the recording you will view after the hackathon is over. The recordings, there'll be like an announcement or something, probably on the UPE Discord for that. As an absolute beginner, it's a little difficult to keep up with everything, but explanation was 10 out of 10. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. You're right. I probably should have worked a little bit more for an absolute beginner, like explaining what a 4 is, stuff like that. Difficult speed-wise, fair enough. I guess I did assume a little bit that you already had a little bit of programming experience. I should have made it more beginner-friendly. That's a fair point. Sorry. Enjoy the workshop. Have a good night. Have a good night, boss. What's in the whole thing before I've seen this was great. Thank you for teaching me something new. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate that, John. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Erica. Really appreciate it. But yeah, for anybody who is still like lost on like the beginner stuff, I guess I would just recommend like just looking up what an if statement is, what if statements are, what loops are, right? That'll obviously give you the foundation to really understand more, like much more clearly what we worked on today. I'll stay here for like 3 more minutes in case anybody has any other questions. You can go, Yusuf, if you want to. I don't want to take up much. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Dude, I'm not doing anything. Like, do you really think that at 12 a.m. in the morning, I am really gonna go back to my systems programming assignment?
Fair enough, bro. Fair enough. The longer I can keep you away from that, the better. I feel that, bro.
Max is asking if he can ask a question with voice. Can you? Like, can you get access to voice?
I don't know. Try asking for it, and I don't know if I actually can like get you in here.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think so either. I don't know who has control of that, Loki. Sorry.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Max.
Mike's here.
So I see him in the moderation panel.
Let me stop screen recording real quick. Cool.
It worked.
Who do we even ask for that?
For what?
For getting him to talk in the voice chat?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying because I saw him. I saw that Max was moved into the moderation panel, so I thought that maybe he can. Yeah, but
okay, whatever. Max, I will answer your question. Okay, so here, I'm assuming you're in the UPE Discord. If you are, meet me in mentorship VC2 right after I leave. Cool. You got that, Max? Mentorship voice channel 2. And I'll answer your question there. Cool.
What other workshops are happening like right now? Let me see, who am I going to crash? Game assets, Sax, HTML and CSS. Oh, Rose VR. Well, I don't know anything about VR, so it's not that I can help it.
All right, guys. I'm gonna hop off. Thank you guys so much for coming. Take it easy, everybody. Let's chat. Let's chat.
Saying
All right.
goodbye, everyone.
Yusuf, I really appreciate it. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
no worries, man. You did great. You did amazing.
Thank you, Yusuf. I really appreciate that. I'll make it more beginner friendly next time. All right. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.